One of the things I love when we're traveling from school to school and church to church is hearing the stories from students. I mean, these stories, they build your faith. And one of the things I like to say is when you hear someone else, they did it, it gives you the passion, the desire, even the belief in yourself for you to step up and you to do it too. If you can see it, you can do it. When I first started traveling with Youth Alive, there was this one young student in one of the services during worship time. She was like speaking out this statement over and over. And man, it was just like so bone chilling. She kept saying this word over. She said, I haven't done enough. I haven't done enough. I haven't done enough. And it was crazy because school was about to start in the next couple of weeks. And she was looking forward into that school year, but yet looking back at what she hadn't done for God. I think it was really cool because she saw the potential of what was there. Students doing big things on their campus. I remember hearing of a young man that took his Bible to school, placed it up on the desk, almost got in a fight with the guy sitting next to him over this Bible. Friend said, hey, what is this Bible all about? My mom said it's the biggest waste of time, biggest waste of money. And the student, the Christian, said, no, man, it's not the biggest waste of time. It's changed my life and it can change yours. Well, the school bell rang. They ended up going out into the hallway, and there right in the middle of the hall, that young man led his friend who thought the Bible was a waste of time to Jesus Christ. It wasn't a big preacher. It wasn't somebody who had an internet or a website. It was somebody who was passionate on their campus, a student. Crazy story, and all he did was bring his Bible. I remember another young man that got in a fight, and he was in the middle of this fight, and he said this cheesy statement. He's like, man, I am not going to hit you back again because Jesus wouldn't hit you back. And you're like, what? No way, man. No, not that. Not cheesy Jesus, but I don't know how, but it worked. His friend then began to ask him, what about this Jesus you say wouldn't fight me? And the guy who said Jesus ended up leading his friend through a fight that came to Jesus. Really, really amazing story. And they started going to church together. I remember hearing a story about 3 young ladies that were going during the cafeteria from table to table. And that's all they did. They already eaten their Hot Pockets, already ate those chicken fried fingers, and they were going table to table and just asking students if they wanted to hear about Jesus, just if they could pray for them, if they could maybe encourage them or counsel them if they're going through problems. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Because why? That takes guts. It takes guts to step up and go cafeteria table to cafeteria table. Also remember a young man started a Bible club. You know what? When he went to his principal and asked if he could do the Bible club, the principal said no. This young man, dude, he was tenacious. He was full of faith. He wasn't going to take no for an answer. So he went back again. Principal said no. Went back again months later, and the principal said no. Well, after a while, the principal got tired of him coming. And so he said, listen, you got to go back, and if you can get for me 30 names of students that'll be in your Christian club, then I'll let you have the club. But this dude, he went back. He found the names, the addresses, the phone numbers, and got it. And the principal said yes. After all those no's, the tenacity, the relentlessness, he kept going, started that club. That club's still going on today, and yet that young man didn't just start that club in the middle school, but he went to his high school and started another club. I think, wow, this dude's going to be a church planter someday because of the crazy faith, even in the midst of a no. There's another young lady that started to share faith through her volleyball team. And man, I love when students share their faith through their sports teams. And they were on a ride home from an away game. It's about an hour ride. She says, man, I'm going to share my faith. I'm going to talk about Jesus. She thought, like, realistically, it's only lasts for 5 minutes. It ended up taking the whole hour, an hour to talk about Jesus, how life runs, church works, all those crazy questions that people really don't know the answers to. She got to share. As they were getting off the bus, she invited them to come to church the next night, youth service. 11 out of the 13 said, we'll come. And they came. Thank goodness the youth pastor, he gave an altar call, and he decided to ask if there were students in that room that didn't know Jesus, if tonight they wanted to make him Lord and Savior. All 11 stepped forward out of those plastic chairs, walked down the front, and gave their hearts and lives to Jesus Christ. Crazy story, because one young lady on the volleyball team said, let's talk about Jesus. I remember another story. There's a young lady that played softball. She was going to a youth service, and her youth pastor asked her, would you preach next Wednesday night? And so she did. She said, yes, I'll preach. But this is what she did. She invited her whole softball team. Her whole softball team came and heard her preach at this youth service on a Wednesday night. And listen, 3 students got saved from that whole softball team, and they accepted Jesus Christ that night. They stayed and kept coming to those youth services. One of them felt a call of God upon their lives to go into full-time ministry, went to one of our AG colleges, and now is on the mission field serving God. How crazy is that? You never know the stories. You never know the impact. You never know where you're going to go. One last story. As a young man who was a junior in high school, he got an invite from one of his friends to go to a lock-in, a youth lock-in that night at his church. He'd never been to church before, didn't even know what it was all about, but he went to the lock-in. Started going to church year after year. Now, 5 years later, that young man that was invited to the lock-in is now the youth pastor of that church that he went to the lock-in for. You just never know. And I just wanted to spend these last few moments with you and just tell you some crazy stories about what can happen when you step out of the box, when you get bold in your faith, and you start to tell others about Jesus. Listen, if these did it, you can do it too.